Ladies and gentlemen of the community, faculty and staff, administrators and board members, friends and family, mom and dad. It is my honor to be able to stand here in front of you all today and announce, without the slightest of hesitations, that if there was ever a class that showed Holland Patent what it is to be a Golden Knight, you, my friends, are looking at it. To my classmates, when we began this journey back in September 2006, the next 13 years were going to be whatever we made of them. Sure, we could have sat back and took the easy road, showed up to class in the morning, muddled through the day, and went home at the afternoon bell. There wouldn't have been much to the story, but it would have gotten us through. The class of 2019, however, wasn't about to do that. You were destined for a greater good. In that time, all of you as a class have far surpassed anything out of thought possible. Whether it be in the classroom, on the field, behind a canvas, or next to a music stand, just to name a few. Words cannot express how proud I am to bear the standard for a class in which 1 out of every 4 students is a Section 3 athletics champion. A class which boasts one of the best, if not the best, trombone player in the state of New York. And the class which has a Presidential Award-winning artist receiving a full-ride scholarship for her work. And those were just some of the big accomplishments which I am proud to share with you today. As much as the class is defined by that stuff, I would be gravely mistaken if I did not state the fact that this class is also defined by, in the hearts of many, by the day in and day out acts of kindness that these individuals perform. Whether it was offering, well actually insisting, that they carry bags for teachers, offering people who weren't necessarily in their friend groups rides to games or other events, or helping their injured friends from class to class, or in the case of the senior trip from roller coaster to roller coaster. I saw every day in the halls in and around this school that the students in this class managed to damn their differences, for they realized that what unites them is far stronger than the petty and insignificant stuff that divides them. Now, with that being said, behind all of the academic, athletic, musical, artistic, and moral greatness that this class radiates, there is a base of support second to none. I, for one, believe that if we did not have the privilege of being raised in the area that we were or attending the district that we did, our success would be nowhere near as far-reaching as it is. Looking out into the audience today, I see individuals who have staked their lives into this community and into this class. People who could have packed their bags and headed off as soon as they stepped away from this very park with their diplomas 20, 30, 40, 50, I'm afraid to go any further, years ago, but instead anchored themselves here in this great district and poured their hearts and their times and their souls into the upbringing of this next generation of students. To those people, of which I am fortunate to say there are far too many to name on an individual basis, I thank you on behalf of the class of 2019. Now there are a few people here today who I want to thank specifically for playing pivotal roles to getting me to where I am right now. For me, the journey to where I am standing began when my parents actually held me back in kindergarten. I know, true story, believe it or not. I guess I was more persuasive back then at convincing them to let me ditch school. Good thing I still had a little bit of that persuasion left in the tank this year, because I tell you, there's nothing like skiing during the middle of the week. The lines are so short, it's as if you own the mountain. So if any of you are out there in the class of 2020, I'm sure the attendance office would like you to disregard anything I just said in the past 15 seconds. But in all seriousness, getting back to my parents, whether or not I agreed with or was happy for the decisions or suggestions that they made that impacted my life, I knew that they were always made with my success and well-being as a top priority. They knew early on that I had an innate love for learning, and they pushed that love of learning to the maximum without compromising who I was as a person in the last few months as a free-spirited teenager. Now, it could go without saying, but you know I'm not going to let it, that there would have been no love to be had out of learning if this class wasn't blessed with some pretty awesome teachers along the way. I can tell you right now that every single member of this class has their own unique stories about how they were helped, coached, and so on by the faculty at this school. For me, coming into high school, I was leaning toward history being my favorite subject, but it was only after spending 4 years with some of the most kind-hearted, dedicated, and knowledgeable educators in Mrs. Sullivan, Mr. Zarek, Mr. Locke, Mr. Richard, and Mr. Riemenschneider, that I realized my academic heart had been and is in the right place. So to those people, thank you for all that you've done for me over these past 4 years. Now, history or social studies, however, only takes up one period out of the day. But unlike a lot of other students who were in my position that had that one academic interest above all the others, I had the good fortune to say that I could truly look forward to all 9 periods in the school day. For science, Mr. Lucasen made by far the most strenuous course offered at the school, Advanced Placement Biology, something to look forward to. For I guarantee that that man has more gripping, perplexing, and hilarious life stories than about half the world's population combined. Now, I only say half because we also have Mr. Hartnett from the English department, who seemed to have an anecdotal story or scenario that would bring any English lesson to life in a way that no textbook could ever come close to. Those managed to keep me more awake for a first period, 7:30 in the morning, advanced placement English language, arts, and composition class than any Stewart's 20-ounce cup of coffee could ever. So before I move on, I just want to bring up one more teacher. I only knew him for my last year of high school, but the story began my junior year. Faced with the typical scheduling conflict of any small high school, I couldn't fit all the classes I wanted to take into my schedule. So being the person that I was, I opted to enroll in an online advanced placement calculus course. Now I know I'm often thought of as an academic success story, but let me tell you, that could not have been further from the case when it came to this online class. I dreaded every minute of attempting to wrap my head around these mind-boggling concepts that I saw as useless. I abhorred the subject and became disenchanted in the learning process itself. I ended up flunking the class, and between you and me, I got a 1 on that AP exam. Don't tell my parents. It wasn't my finest hour, but at least it was over with. Or so I thought. Now, being that calculus isn't a graduation requirement here or at any school I would hope for that matter, I had intended to take statistics as a senior year math course. I thought I was done with calculus. My dad, of course, had other ideas. After hours of, shall we say, intense family debate, with me kicking and screaming all along the way, I pulled myself into guidance and asked that calculus be put on my schedule. Here we go again. It's only 40 minutes of my day, I thought. I can get through it. And when our schedules came out, I saw the name Ferris next to that class. I'd never heard of this man before, and on the first day of school, walking into calculus, it looked as if he had just walked across the college graduation stage the other week. That's a compliment, by the way. So here I was thinking, my worst subject, a new and young teacher. What could possibly go wrong? It soon became evident, though, that I had lucked out. Out of all the people I've met throughout my years here, I'd say that Mr. Ferris comes the closest to truly loving every moment and every aspect of his job. His enthusiasm, humor, down-to-earth personality, and willingness to bend over backwards to help his students' understanding of the material in any and every way possible makes him a once-in-a-lifetime educator that any school in this nation would be lucky to have. Mr. Ferris, you single-handedly turned my nightmare that was calculus into a dream. I got to live every day along with the other 12 students in that class, so thank you again. Now, as my time draws to a close up here, I just want to offer a few parting words to my peers. As a class, we are one, but we would not be who we are and who we are thought of as without each and every one of your individual personalities, pursuits, and passions. Had it not been for people like Caitlin, we'd be a class without art. Had it not been for people like Josh, we'd be a class without music. Had it not been for by my calculations, I flipped the yearbook several times, 77 seniors who played a varsity sport this year, well, I don't even want to know what we would look like as a class. My point is this: all of these class accomplishments and attributes that I could describe for hours on end exist because you decided to be you. Now don't let that desire fade when you leave this stage. For just as this class did, a vibrant society rests on you being yourself. Don't waste your time trying to fit into the other person's shoes. If you do that, you'll always be one step behind the game. That's not to say you won't face setbacks being yourself. Just know that when those times come, life is an ongoing learning curve, and there is nothing standardized about it. You shouldn't spend your days and nights studying for it. You should spend your time living it. Now, in conclusion, this team, of which we are all members, officially steps off the field today, but is in many ways going to stay together and is going to continue to do great things. Now, it may be in individual homes, in individual communities, miles apart, all across this great state and this great nation. But in some ways, in so many ways, the great people that this class has produced will continue to make profound and positive impacts on those around them. And I look forward to supporting and following and cheering on your efforts, for I believe in you, I believe in this class, and I believe in Holland. Patton, thank you very much, and I wish every single one of you nothing but the best.
This concludes our graduation ceremony, and again, congratulations to the class of 2019.